real quick, the problem that I have with Frankie de Jong is doing business with Barcelona. That is my biggest issue. I don't dislike him as a player. I want nothing to do with anybody from Barcelona or the club ever again. They are fucking cocksuckers. On After Dark, baby.
Don't do it.
The flag stays down.
How is Barca gonna guarantee money that they don't have?
Oh,
thank you. Yes, I've been waiting on this.
Thank you for saying that. Let's have the Barcelona After Dark.
All right.
Talk right now.
Yeah, you got to give me a couple minutes. I have to go help my wife make the bed and
man,
take a piss.
He's old. He's married now. Oh.
Yeah, I know, right?
He's so different.
Give it 6 months.
I like that he only goes from very intoxicated to slightly intoxicated.
Yes. Oh man.
Like baseline intoxicated versus.
I'm curious, not just with Matt, but just in general. Like I was thinking back to our college days. And I'm like, I'm curious to know just like what our average BAC was. Like if we were to just every hour on the hour blow into a breathalyzer, like what our average would turn out to be over the course of a week.
Yeah.
Because it's not zero. And it's probably not the legal limit.
You know, I had that thought like just yesterday, like what would I blow? I had like I played in the pinball tournament yesterday and I had 2 beers. And I pretty much had nothing, right? Like
yeah.
I had 2 cream ales. What would I blow? Would I blow a 0.02? Like I have no clue.
Yeah, maybe a 3. So like, yeah, it'd be low.
It has to be, right?
But I was
just laughing to myself, like because I felt pretty much nothing.
See, I get to like because I drink so infrequently now, like it's basically like Sunday nights I drink. And it's just whiskey now. So I'll have like 1 or 2 drinks and like I'll feel it a little bit in my head, like just kind of that, the light buzz.
Yep.
But then I'll think about it, I'm like, man, there was a time in my life where we had a bottle of Everclear in the freezer and we had countless bottles of vodka and we were playing Riot Punch and like all like I remember at one point moving home, like sitting in my apartment after moving home or moving into my apartment in Greenfield and being like, I don't really know what to do. Like, do I go to the bar across the street when I'm not doing anything? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I played video games and everything worked out, but yeah, no, it's just like the transition is nuts.
Yeah, it was pretty funny on Friday. I think it was Friday night. I was on the phone with Carol and or maybe it was Saturday, I don't remember. And she was at her parents'. It's her mom's birthday, and then she had to like travel further that way. So so she just went by herself, and I stayed home with the dogs. And I bought a 24-pack of Miller Lite, which I haven't done in forever. I drink a lot of craft beer and stuff, and I bought like a 24-pack of Miller. So I cracked one and I poured it while I was on the phone with her, and she goes, "You should just chug that." I was like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah." So I did. I haven't chugged a beer in fucking 6 years. Like that, like that burp feeling. I haven't done that in forever. Can't remember the last time I just downed a beer, and it wasn't fast, but I put it down.
There you go. It's like riding a bike, right?
I've never been great at chugging beer, but do it. I have a new favorite beer, by the way.
Oh yeah.
It is a key lime pie sour by Indeed. Phenomenal.
Yes.
It's
Uh
literally, and I'm key lime pie everything. Key lime pie
oh
is my
yeah.
favorite dessert on the planet.
I've had a
Um,
couple different key lime pie sours, and I can't remember where they were from, but those are some of my absolute favorite beers. So good.
Amazing. I love it.
So does Indeed have like the market, like the whole market share up there? Or no, sir, I'm thinking Surly. Sorry.
So Sterling's the gorilla, but I feel like they're slipping a bit.
Okay.
Their flagship beer is a heavy hopped IPA that I stopped drinking like 4 years ago. I don't like it anymore. I actually think it's really off-putting. It's not balanced. It's not very drinkable. It's very aggressive. So I stopped drinking Furious a long, long time ago. And I tried the other Surlys that come out, but Indeed is very good. Fulton is really good. A couple others. But Modest is probably my other like go-to favorite.
Okay.
But I mean, there's probably like 5 or 6 solid like breweries. I don't know how well distributed they are to Milwaukee markets, but
Yeah, it's kind of just Matt knows better than I do, but from what I see, it's like Surly and Indeed are the two major.
so, like we have a brewery called like Bent Paddle up in Duluth. That's pretty good, and I mean, it's local brewery stuff, right? Like it's
Right.
nothing that's gonna like blow your socks off, but it's solid, right? It's not bad. Fun to go there when you're in town.
Oh, look, I gotta see. I haven't been to Mobcraft here in Milwaukee in a while. We'll see if they have anything new. Because they're always rotating out every month or so. Ooh, a caramel apple sour.
Yes.
Oh,
We'll
And I was
stop
telling
after
Collins,
Highbury.
yes.
that Indeed has a new key lime pie sour.
Ooh.
It's really good. So I went there and I had it on tap, and then I bought a growler, and now I found a 4-pack. So
Ooh. Even better. I feel like I just made the bed in record time.
Proud of you.
Also, this is big news for me, and I'm going to share it with you because you guys are my friends, and you're the only ones that can appreciate this. But
Okay.
my local pinball bar, Tilt, they just announced that they're upgrading locations, and they bought a new building, and so they're like their 35 game small super crowded place is going to be in an old liquor store, and it's going to hold like 80 games and have a full bar with like seating and stuff,
Dang.
and I
There,
could not be happier.
dude, there's a place in Milwaukee. I think I might have told you about this maybe a year ago.
Arcade.
It is, oh, I gotta remember the name of it.
Arcade's the big one.
Yeah. So it's called Dead Bird Brewing.
Huh?
Beer, arcades, snacks, and pinball. And it's a big place.
I love places like that.
Yeah, if you go to their website, deadbirdbrewing.com.
Place you sent me only had a couple of pinballs, if I remember right.
Yeah, they did, but it's a huge space. And I think we went there I think this is right after like everything kind of opened back up. But it's legit. Yeah, so they have old school like arcade games too and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, if there was ever a bar built for Parker, this is definitely going to be this is definitely gonna be.
I love places like that. There's a place like that in San Diego that I went
Santiago.
to. Correct. I went to a few years ago when I was out there, and then I took Carolyn as well. But they have got like Mortal Kombat arcade and Street Fighter arcades, and then like Donkey Kong and
Yep.
Pac-Man and all of those type games as well. And then skee ball and those things, and then like 8 or 9 pinball machines.
Oh, nice.
Great.
Yeah. No, as soon as we walked into this place, because we had never heard of it, and Molly's like, yeah, I there's this brewing company, and you want to go try beers there. I'm like, well, you have to hit me in the face with a wet mop. Like, yeah, I'll be there.
Yes, ma'am.
So I was like, yeah, let's go check it out. And granted, it was dead. Like there was nobody there, but they had good beers. And I looked at like all the pinball machines that they had and all the arcades. I'm like, yeah, this has got Parker written all over it. Yeah, it's a cool place.
So Tilt's like biggest problem has always been they're just out of space. They can't fit any more pinball machines into this fucking location.
Yeah.
Like, so they rotate them in and out a lot, which is cool, but they only have like a 36 machine cap. Like that's, and the guys that own it probably own like 120 machines. So
yeah,
they're going to have like 85, 80 something, like,
holy shit.
And I'm like, oh.
Might be a full job.
And it's like a mile away from the old location, so it's not any further, which is good.
So how far away for you is that?
It's uptown Minneapolis. It's 32 minutes.
Okay.
In traffic.
Yeah.
Like 27 minutes straight shot.
Nice. Dude, that's fucking awesome.
And if I go from work, it's even quicker. So
yeah.
Oh, it's legit.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm very excited. It'll probably be like 6 months away from them actually moving. They just bought the place and they're gonna reno it and everything. And
yep.
But they just announced it, and yeah, the guys, I know all the owners and stuff, and so they're all fucking pumped and just jacked up. So.
Oh, there's so the next time you're down, Collins, I don't know if you've been there yet, but there is a new brewery in West Dallas called Ope.
I was just about to ask you if you've been there.
Twice.
Ope. I walked by there. It looks real nice.
Dude, the plans that they have for that place are ridiculous. The inside is massive. Like, you can easily host a wedding, no problem. Massive. They're planning on building 2 outdoor sand volleyball courts with garage doors and all that stuff to go out there. Like, they've got big plans for this, and they're going to redo the parking lot, which right now it's just all gravel. Like if you go along the backside of it, because it's all like industrial buildings and stuff, but the whole back parking lot, they're going to redo. They're going to have a full driveway and everything. It's what? Oh,
yeah.
It's a big ass place.
It's massive.
Yeah, they've got a lot of room to develop too. We were just at the farmers market yesterday.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, and their beers are really good. Like really, really good. And they do have some other stuff. So they have their own beers, and they have stuff from like Eagle Park and things like that. But yeah, that place, I went there because friends of ours that we play volleyball with, they got engaged. So I went to go meet up with them. I think Molly was either working or out of town. So I went there, and it was the first time I had been there, and they had been there before, like for the opening. Place is ridiculous. And they have a stage inside the building. Sorry, they have a stage inside the building. So they'll have live music. They have huge garage doors, so you can have like bags outside and do all that stuff. And it's, dude, the place is nuts. Yep. Yeah, it's a bomb ass place with really good beer, and like the whole vibe is just really cool there. It's very
Dude,
chill.
that whole neighborhood is getting like a new vibe.
Well,
Good
it's
hard
Dallas.
sleepers.
It kind of needs to, but
Well,
like
right.
right now, Dallas is becoming what Bayview was like 10 years ago.
Those apartments or condos right across the street, the West or whatever it's called. Oh man, those look nice.
I know. They're doing a great job over there, and yeah, it's legit. They've got taps on both sides, and their bar, like the actual bar top is, I shit you not, probably 90 feet long.
Damn.
They have cork dartboards you can play for free. Like they have 3 of them, like 3 stations. It's awesome. They got big plans for it. So the guy that got engaged, he knows one of the owners. So he got a layout of everything that they're trying to do, and they're gonna try and do a lot. So I'm like, sweet. Now I got a local place that I can go play volleyball. I'm all about it.
Yeah, it's not too far away from you, is it?
No,
5 minutes, maybe.
maybe 8 if
Yeah,
if
say
I
it was-
catch all red lights.
It's like 7 from our house. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's a really cool place. Really good atmosphere.
It's kind of by where I met you, isn't it, Collins? No, maybe for brunch.
Yeah, it is. It's just down National a little bit.
And where'd you guys go again?
I don't remember the name of it.
I don't remember the name either.
It was like 60th and National though.
You recommended it to us.
West Dallas Cheese Shop?
Brunch spot.
It was right next to Keggles.
Hammerschlagen.
Oh, Public Inn. No? Or Public Table?
Is that right? I don't know.
Public Table
I
is
have no
literally
idea.
right across from Keggles.
Then yeah, that was probably it.
Yeah, Public Table. Yep. You got cucumbers with like black salt and whatever. Yeah,
That's right.
Public Table.
Yep.
I would say I know that was in Collins's wheelhouse because almost everything that they serve has Fresno chilies on it. So
Oh yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were late for whatever you had to do for your wedding.
anything and everything.
Shocker.
Supposed to meet somebody at 9, woke up at 9 to somebody knocking on my door.
Just don't get drunk, Matt.
Yeah, well, that ship set sail a long time ago. And she's still going.
We drank. I think we
So
Ubered
anyways.
home because we drank.
Yeah, at like 4 a.m. So Barca after dark.
Oh, fuck that. I can't. I hate Barcelona.
Well, I've got like a real quick just
Oh,
rundown. of
I'm
how-
here for the whole thing. I'm ready to go.
So Spain has their own version of FFP, and it's like they have a La Liga and whatever you call the Liga Segunda or whatever.
Yeah.
Have a salary cap, but it's not a league-wide salary cap. It's the league caps how much you can spend on salaries and transfers based on your revenues from the prior year.
Okay.
So, you know, Girona or some of those other, you know, Vallecano, like have super small caps. Whereas Barcelona's, I think, is like in the 300 million euros, 400 million euros, something like that. So it's not necessarily that they are running out of money. It's that they have reached their cap limit. So they have money to spend, and the reason they can't register these players is because it go like the money they spent on these players and then their new salary is going above what the limit based on their revenue from last year is.
Parks.
Question. How does like TV revenue work?
So in La Liga, the clubs are responsible for their own distribution rights. And so that's why, we saw BN, they pretty much only showed Barcelona or Real Madrid. And occasionally they would show Atletico or, whatever, because the clubs are selling the individual packages, kind of like they do in CONCACAF, where the US can only sell their home games and items like that. So the way Barcelona has packaged it is that they sold it not to like a CBS or an NBC, but they sold it to a firm that will then sell it to these other, to the networks.
So is it fair to say that Barcelona makes far more TV revenue than other clubs?
Oh yeah. 100%. The only club that they don't make more than is Real Madrid. And like they don't release the exact figures of that, but based on their salary cap number, Real Madrid's cap number is 7 times higher than Barcelona's. So what Barcelona is doing in selling these, 15% of our rights for the next 10 years or whatever jargon they want to throw out there, is they are selling low right now. They're selling just to get cash in for next
revenue.
year, for the year after, for all of that. They're mortgaging the future. Assuming
it's an accounting practice to record revenue in this prior year to push forward to their next budget.
Right. So the reason why they can't, by doing this, yes, they can go ahead and they can buy Rafinha, they can buy Conde, they can buy Lewandowski. That's all fine. But the reason they can't register them this year is because that revenue doesn't take effect on their books, like for the salary cap, until next year. And so that's why they need De Jong to leave, because he's got $20 million that they owe him in salary, which frees up space for Conde's contract and Lewandowski's contract and probably Rafinha's contract.
So is that how they can guarantee money up front?
Here's what so I haven't read this anywhere. This is just knowing Spanish football and having read a lot about Spanish football. I've got a surprising amount of books here about Spanish football and just how corrupt it is. And just from the past, looking into the present and the future, I think that Barcelona is essentially operating like a college football team, like in Alabama, where they're saying, hey, come here. Here's full ride scholarship, which is your salary, right? But, we've got these buddies over here who can hook you up with a car, hook you up with a house, hook you up with
they
spending money.
So they have boosters.
I think there's boosters and there's money under the table, because Real Madrid has done it in the past. Barcelona has done it in the past. Like it's just it's a Spanish thing to do, to like pay people not on the books in terms of footballing. And I think that they're doing that, and that's how you're getting Rafinha to take a pay cut from what he was already making at Leeds, which was not a lot. Conde was not making a ton at Sevilla. There's no way they're matching what Lewandowski was making at Bayern. So that there's under the table money being transferred in some way here.
So, and that's, so my understanding at the time, which clearly has changed after knowing what's going on, financial fair play, I thought that was with all European clubs, not just England.
It is. And
So it is, but it isn't, which at that point you need to make it universal.
Well, La Liga's rules are stricter than FFP. That's why UEFA is not getting involved or anything like that, because technically Barcelona isn't operating at a loss. A couple of years ago, their salaries were at like 110% of their revenues.
Right, which is why everybody took a pay cut.
Yeah, they got PK to take a pay cut. Messi was on a $50 million a year contract. He's gone. So and they're still paying some of that, but not as much. So they're back under FFP.
Right.
So the issue is that FFP is not as strong as what La Liga is, but at the same time, Barcelona is more important to La Liga than La Liga is to Barcelona. So so La Liga isn't going to go after Barcelona. That and the fact that Spain is a very divided country. Like if you're from Spain, you don't identify as Spanish. You identify as Catalan, or you identify as
Basque or something like that. When you identify based on your region.
Right. So there's no real like Spanish nationality there. So, Barca's just throwing up middle fingers. They're like, yeah, okay, La Liga, cool. Like that's what UEFA tells us we have to play in. But if they can get the Super League going, that's going to be an infinite revenue source for them, because they're going to be at the forefront of it. And that's what they're banking on.
But who's going to join the Super League after everything that we saw happen? Who is going to want to join? Because
that's the thing, is that the reason it fell apart is because the English clubs pulled out.
Well, they had to.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. But we've seen Juve, Real Madrid, and Barca are still technically in the Super League negotiations, and UEFA can't do anything about it. They went to the, what do they call it, the European Court of Arbitration or Sport Arbitration, something like that.
Yeah. Like baseball.
And they've said no, there's nothing you can do about it. Like you can do that. So
baseball reference.
Yeah. Nothing's going to happen. The only thing is that the English clubs can't do it because the Premier League as a whole holds a lot of power.
Right.
La Liga does not hold a lot of power. The Bundesliga does not hold a lot of power. Serie A does not hold a lot of power. The clubs hold the power in those situations. So,
at that point, like, how do you even create a quote unquote Super League if you don't have some of the top European clubs? I mean, granted, they'll find whoever wants to be a part of it, but you're only looking at La Liga, the Bundesliga, Serie A, maybe
Liga, probably
maybe Liga, but well, the Dutch, they don't have much. They have
no, but you don't think that Ajax would like to get out of the Eredivisie?
Right, but that's one team, and then I understand that there are going to be all the TV deals and things like that, but I don't know. It to me, it seems like it's just a way for them to make more money. Let's look at it this way.
Yeah, no, that's
100%
spot on.
It's just like with golf, right? The
LIV Tour,
the LIV Tour, yeah. Right? It's less games. Or for the LIV Tour, it's less matches, less tournaments and things like that, but you get paid a shit ton more.
Because you're not opening it up to 300 people to try to make the cut, so you don't have to pay everybody. Right. The Super League is the exact same thing. You're not opening it up to all of Europe. You have 15 to 20 clubs, and everyone reaps the benefits.
Invite only, right? Like that's the key, because the argument
members only jacket.
The argument against LIV is what happens when these guys get old and retire. PGA develops people through a full system,
the Corn Ferry Tour,
to get people to where they are, right? Like that's one of the main reasons why they are able to get there. And you can't just like cherry pick. You can for a year or two, right? But you can't do it forever. So an invite only Super League makes sense there. I'm like thinking what happens if like a Chinese team wants to be a part of the Super League, they pony up and they start buying people like they did 5-6 years ago, and they say
Oscar,
like,
Hulk.
we
Yeah.
want to be a part of this, and we'll buy stars, we'll buy the people, at the prime of their career, Aiden Hazards or the Ronaldos or whoever in the
Yeah.
world, and say like, we'll form a team like that and we'll compete with you. We'll get paid big bucks.
It to me, and so I guess that's where I have the fundamental question of, they're playing a sport. It's the same almost with any sport, right? We have professionals playing a sport. They have been gifted with exceptional talents, and they're just leaving for more money. Granted, do we all want more money? Absolutely. I get that. But at the same time, like, it's just something that I can't understand. Like, yeah, you're getting paid 30 mil a year. No, I'm gonna go join this other league where it's probably not gonna be as good, or we're gonna do whatever, but yeah, we're gonna get paid twice as much. Like, fine, you want to make your money, but at the same time, like, the way that all three of us operate, if we were good enough to play with Chelsea, I think we would be perfectly content with making 20 mil a year. I think we would be fine. But we're not in those players' positions, right? It's like, do you want to make 20 mil or do you want to make 70 mil?
Yeah, there's a law of diminishing returns at
Exactly.
a certain point, of course, because I could say the same, or like, because I could offer you, and I have no idea what you make, what either of you guys make from a salary. But if I said like, hey, I'm going to sign you up for a special project, it's going to take 9 months and I'll pay you 500 grand. You guys are quitting your jobs and taking the project. Like,
Yeah.
you will, because I'm guessing that's well out of what you make. It's well out of what I make, right? Like, it's well out of what all of us make. And so,
well, I still have my 15 bill from my last which, again, I'm sorry that my bid was rejected, but I still have that burning hole in my pocket if anybody wants it.
of course, but you know what I mean? Like, if you're offered, if you're dangled that carrot, it's hard to say no. I mean, I get it that at some point, you're right, Matt, it's diminished returns, but at the same point, like, you're also looking at your circle and your circle's circle and your 3 generations beyond, and philanthropic missions, and you're thinking about where you can put that money, and people think, yeah, I'll take it. Or even if it's just for ego purposes, they'll take it, right?
Oh, right.
Go ahead. Someone who's offered a great insight into this, and who surprisingly talks a lot to the media, though you would never expect it, is Oscar. Oscar, he was very vocal. He's been very vocal over the last decade about how much he loves Chelsea, how much he loved playing for Chelsea, how much he would love to again play for Chelsea. But he just had can't remember if it was in the Players Tribune or if it was just an interview or something. But he was very blunt about the fact that, yeah, I love playing for Chelsea and they were paying me great and all that, but I came from literal dirt, nil, nothing. Like, my parents scraped to get by. Like, we were looking for food on the streets. He goes, so when I see a double in my income, regardless of what the income is, I have to jump on it because I want to set my family up, like, for success. So I think that our perception of it as, I hate to be this guy, but the white middle class,
working class citizens
in a first world country, in, a relatively, in all of our cases here, a pretty financially set space, but being in Milwaukee and Minnesota and all that, like our perceptions are just skewed compared, especially in the soccer world, where a lot of these guys come from absolute nothing. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things that they talk about in soccernomics, is that you don't want the middle class people. You don't want to sign them to your team. You want the dirt poor people because they're going to work for it.
They're going to work, they're going to grind because that's all they know. Right? Like that's all that they know how to do. And again, I'm not against that. I completely understand that. The issue that I have is more of like morals. Like, where do they rest? Like, if you came from nothing, you're making 20 mil a year, right? That should be more than enough for you to be like, yep, I made it, we're good. But then, Parker, to your point, somebody offers you, yeah, we're gonna double it and you can come play and do whatever. Odds are you're probably gonna take it. But at the same time, like from a moral standpoint, I would be like, no, I'm good. Like, I'm not gonna, it's kind of like selling out. It's kind of how I look at it. You're kind of selling out if you're doing something and like, oh, well, this Chinese league team is going to pay me twice what I'm making. I mean, nobody's ever going to remember me or do anything. Like, it's legacy versus money. I think that everybody is chasing money more than they are legacy. And to me, it doesn't seem right. It doesn't sit well with me. And I like to think of myself as a very modest person. Like, I've had somebody come up to me and be like obviously Oshkosh, we all played there. We know the history there. They're like, oh yeah, you won 3 national championships. I don't care. I have my medals are hanging in my garage because I had nowhere else to put them. Like, they're just there. Like, if you want them, take them. I don't give a shit. It's like, I know who I am, I know what I do, and that's fine with me. And I feel like right now, with the way that pro sports work, everybody is chasing money instead of like trying to figure out who they are. And I'm not a fan of it.
Good point. Will we ever have a Frank Lampard again, or John Terry again, and some of those players? Will Mason Mount and Reece James stay with Chelsea for their whole career? I mean, those are all good questions about, because people are going to come after both of those guys, and are they going to offer them money? Yeah, and to me, it's always just like a break point, because if Chelsea kind of lowball those guys and say like, oh, you're worth this, and someone else says you're worth 4 times that, or you're worth 3 times that, like, to me it has to be like in the same like ballpark. And that's how I think about like work and things like that too, where if we're talking the same ballpark, then loyalty is a huge motivator. But if we're not in the same like league and someone's offering you 4 times, that's where it gets a bit like ridiculous, because then you look at yourself and say like, well, I'm loyal to this club, but they're not loyal to me. Like, they don't value me because someone's offering me 4 times what they're paying. But there's definitely like a break point of that analysis. And gosh, I hope Reece James retires in a Chelsea uniform or plays the majority of his career. I feel the same way about Mace. You know, those guys are academy kids, and they embody the club. And I hope, more than anything, I hope Chelsea does right by them. because I hope they give them incentive to want to stay with Chelsea for the rest of their career. That's what I cheer for. That's what I hope happens. I hope they don't have to ever come to that decision where someone comes knocking and says, we can pay you 5 times what you're making at Chelsea.
Right. And I guess that's where I circle back to, there needs to be a universal FFP. Because if you're saying, yeah, this Chinese club can offer me 5 times what I'm making, well, yeah, you're definitely going to take that. I mean, I think we all would.
Everyone would.
But at the same time, it's like, the club that I've been with for so long, or that I've been loyal to, the club has been loyal to me, they can't offer that because there are different rules with different leagues. That's when you start having real problems. So I think you need a universal way to do that. And unfortunately, that's not the way that things are. And I think that's why Barcelona is getting away with all the shit that they're doing, is because, yeah, they have their, Collins, like you said, they have their own FFP, but it doesn't weigh, or it doesn't measure the same in Spain that it does in England.
Well, and it's just like when you get together any group of anything to make a rule, like it's always going to be, you're never going to take, you got five different countries and they're all doing relatively the same thing. You're not going to take the strictest one. No one's going to vote for that, right? Especially in a democratic thing like UEFA, right? Yeah. You're not going to get the votes for that. So it's going to be one of the more lenient ones that gets the votes. That's where I think in an ideal world, I think you're right. It'd be great if we had a global FFP or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think that in parts of the world that stunts growth.
Yeah.
China, yes, the whole China thing exploded spectacularly, right? But you look at MLS has had the salary cap the whole time, and it's gradually grown and grown and grown, and the clubs have gradually spent more and more and more, and now MLS is getting more, relevant-ish, right? They're almost on the same par as Liga MX, almost,
which isn't saying much, but
no, yeah. But for a while it was very far behind. Like, it was Liga MX was the only respectable league in CONCACAF.
Yeah.
I still think that's true, but
Seattle Sounders or whoever won it, I don't know. But anyways, it'd be just like in basketball where we draft players from Europe who are playing for European teams, or in baseball where they have the hell do they call it? Yeah, drink. Where everybody like puts money into the pot, and then whoever like signs him is the one that has to pay the money, right? I don't think you're going to get anything in soccer. I think honestly what they have now in terms of inter-league payments and all that is pretty good, because if at least for the lower clubs, for the French league, the Eredivisie, the Belgian clubs, Danish clubs, whatever, because right now it's, if you train that player up until anytime up from their youth up until it's like age 21 or something like that, you will in perpetuity get a kickback on any transfer that player is involved in. So for example, De Ligt, he went for what, like 90 million, something like that. Ajax gets a kickback of that. I think it's like 20% or something like that. DeAndre Yedlin was a good one. that actually went to an arbitration court because he came up through a youth academy of a team that's not FIFA recognized, because youth in America is so weird. But he went to Spurs for 15-20 million pounds, and that club is like, hey, no, we want our 20% because we trained him. I think honestly what they have now is good because it takes into account paying who developed the players. Unfortunately, in terms of FFP, I don't think you're ever gonna get that because there's so many shady things that happen in the world because this isn't US sports. It's not hyper regulated and it's never going to be.
It's not
Right.
one league. It's not one governing body. You're dealing with lots and lots and lots of people and systems and things. I mean, it's complicated enough in one league to make everything feel fair. I mean, everyone knows that the Yankees and the Dodgers have an advantage over the Milwaukee Brewers, and that's a league that has a salary cap and fair rules, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you do that against the top leagues in the world? I mean, when you start trickling it down, it feels more and more unfair to try to like level all the playing fields. So
yeah, and I guess the issue that I have is Collins, what you talked about with La Liga and their TV deals and how they can sell certain parts of that TV deal in order to get liquid cash to buy these players. To me, that doesn't seem right because I'm pretty sure you can't do that with the Premier League, right? You can't sell part of your TV rights to get liquid cash. That's where I have an issue is around things like that, because then obviously that puts Barcelona or any Spanish team or somebody like that at a distinct advantage when they go to try and sign players.
But the thing is, looking at it from a Chelsea perspective, the thing is that it doesn't. Barcelona, in terms of TV revenue, bring in about what each Premier League team brings in. And that was going to be my second point before I went to the bathroom, was that a lot of these clubs across Europe, again, like I was saying in our group text, for a long time, Europe was very balanced. Serie A had a great run for a long time. The Bundesliga had a great run for a long time. We saw Lyon do wonders in Europe and in the French league for a long time. And for a while, England was kind of a backwater league. You had Nottingham Forest win the Champions League a couple times back in the 60s. You had Liverpool in the 80s and Manchester United in the 80s. And that was kind of it. And so when TV deals started to come around and England was so innovative that they were like, yep, we're making the Premier League. We're marketing, to the whole world. That rubbed a lot of leagues in UEFA the wrong way. And so a lot of, and you've seen pictures, a lot of these sporting directors and club owners, they're all 80 years old. They're all decrepit. They're like, they've seen it all, right? So from what I have seen and read and heard, like a lot of these clubs are very much like, yeah, no, we're not selling to England on the cheap. If an English club comes calling, we're selling on a premium because that is like it's taboo. We'd rather sell internally. We'd rather strengthen our own league, strengthen the better teams in our league, than sell to England and promote those who backstabbed us in the late 90s.
And at that point, it's not, and you're going to find this with anything. Anybody that does something drastic or different, they're going to be ostracized for it. Like they're going to get blamed for a lot of things. But look at how much soccer has grown since it came to the US, right? Since European soccer has come to the US. Look how much it's grown. Like they made a decision. It was probably again, like you said, a backstabbing move, but at the same time, everybody else has followed suit.
Yeah, no, like I'm not saying the English did anything wrong. Like they protected their own interests. They were innovative. They went out and got their money. But all these other leagues look at it like, you motherfuckers, like you there was a big pile of money and you went in there before anyone else and you just took a big old chunk of it. And then the next day we walk in and there's like a third of it there.
Collins, I have a book for you. It's all about how the Premier League started and like how like people like Roman Abramovich got into the Premier League and how that whole thing came to fruition. I got a book for you.
Oh yeah.
It's a good read. I'll let you know when I finish it, but it's from like the, I don't know, the 100 pages that I did read when I was actually doing that. It's really good. Talks about a lot of shit that was going on and how they decided to form it and all the shit that they dealt with. That's gonna be right in your wheelhouse. But yeah, I like, at the end of the day, I don't get how
This is one of my favorite books that I've read. It's just a history on Spanish soccer.
I gotta see if I can find my book.
I think I bought this like in the store at Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, I think mine's in the guest bedroom. So let me just go and grab it quick.
I'll wait to make my point then.
I mean, I guess you could look at it like baseball. Okay, let me not make.
Can you look at it like baseball?
Yeah.
Club.
Okay. I'll write that down. I'll flip that
How the
one up.
Premier League became the richest, most disruptive business in sport.
Flag Stays Down Book Club.
Yes. I have another one too, but no, it's good. I mean, I was hooked on it as soon as I started reading it, and then I kind of fell off of that. But
Matt, like I was gonna say before, when you're talking about the fact that Barca have a unfair advantage, like when it comes to signing time, because they can sell off rights and stuff for liquid cash, it appears that way. But Chelsea also received like television money in. It's not their own individually negotiated television money, but they get their money in from there. So if you pretend that soccer grows in TV revenue, which all signs point to yes on that front, like in the next 3 years, if the revenue doubles in the next 3 years, Chelsea will be better off than Barcelona in the long run, because Barca sold the rights for the next 10 years at a discounted rate then, going back, because they already sold that. They already locked in that money for a 10-year deal at a set figure, whereas Chelsea's gets renegotiated more frequently and they're going to be able to reap the benefits from it. So in the long term, we are better off. In the short term, it seems like we don't have as much money as Barcelona to negotiate contracts, but it's kind of a false premises if you think about it that way.
Yeah, it like, and obviously with everything that's happened, obviously with Chelsea and Barcelona during the transfer period right now, like Barca is playing for the now and we're playing for the future. But at the same time, we have to make a move for the now. And that's what kind of pisses me off, is the fact that Koundé or Sevilla accepted 15 mil less, or 15 or 10 mil less than we offered. which as a club, you would want to take more, right? I feel like you would want to take the higher offer. And whatever the stories are, and we've talked about conflicting stories of where paperwork was being held up, blah, blah, blah. Collins, you brought up the point about Koundé, like we wanted him. He was basically saying, come get me. And we were kind of dragging our feet. We're under obviously new ownership right now. And I feel like we were trying to get this thing done. So I don't know what happened. To me, it feels like Sevilla was trying to help build their own league. Like you mentioned, Collins, they wanted to sell internally to build their own league rather than give it to Chelsea and then go that route. So I don't like it. And to me, that's where I find a big issue is how individual leagues operate, because we know how the Premier League operates. But looking at how these other leagues operate, it seems like, at least in the now, we're at a very significant disadvantage of trying to get people to sign. Like you look at a lot of, I mean, Gabriel Jesus, right? He went from City to Arsenal within the Premier League, right? Darwin Nunez, where was he from?
Either Porto or Sporting, I can't remember.
Okay, so Portugal, which I don't know what their rules are.
Erling's another one that fits the narrative, though.
Yeah, like, but I mean, Dortmund's been doing that for years, developing players and then sending them off, usually to Bayern. But again, most of that is internal. Sometimes it's external, depending on the price tag. It to me, it just doesn't seem fair. And I don't want to sound like I'm crying like a little bitch, but it doesn't seem fair the way that things are operating. When you look at top clubs and all the way around, it just doesn't seem like things are consistent, and it seems like things are tilted more one way than the other.
So what I've got up here, just to kind of dispel the myth of like TV money being like a big deal. This is from 2018-19. Swiss Ramble is a great account. They do a lot of like soccer economics, like financial reports and stuff like that. Some of their stuff can be kind of meh, but like some of it can be very interesting as well. So this is the last Premier League deal. They just renewed this past last off season, right? And it was an even higher amount total for the league, like for global rights. But you look at this, Chelsea made on the last deal about 140, 150 million pounds on TV money, right? Here's La Liga. And again, this is 2018-19. This is before Barcelona sold off their most recent rights at a discounted rate. They're bringing in about 143. So yes, they're selling off future assets to bring in money now, but at that discounted rate, you know, they're still bringing in, if you look year by year, less than what Chelsea's bringing in terms of like a TV deal amount. And you can see why other leagues are jealous of the Premier League. You look at Huddersfield making 97 million pounds and getting relegated, and you look at Girona taking 20th in La Liga and they're bringing in 40 million pounds.
Huddersfield would rank 4th on that list.
Yes, they would. And there's a note on that one as well that the 3 relegated teams from the previous year averaged about $100 million. So that would also put them 4th in La Liga in terms of income. So But Matt, to get back to your point on, all these different leagues operating in different ways, it goes back to what Parker said about, well, you've got, it's not just one league, it's all different leagues trying to work together and do all that. But now you're breaking it down even further, because a lot of leagues don't do league-wide distribution, they do club-wide distribution. That's why you see so many Ajax games on ESPN Plus. That's why you see so many Bayern Munich games on FS1. So then you're breaking it down even further to 20-ish teams per league that you then have to get approval from. And it's just, I agree. I think in an ideal world, 100%, if we can get everybody kind of on the same page or on an agreeable page, that's great. But there's too many hands in the pot.
Yeah. And if we want to like think about fair rules, great. But like the leagues are going to structure their rules to then benefit their league so they can maximize their money in their league to try to like get like you said, Collins, a bigger share of that pot, because there's this big pot of money in the middle of this thing and it's a lot of hands grabbing at it. But it reminds me of college football, because I think it's the Texas Longhorns have like their own network.
Yep.
In college football, and other teams.
A lot of people have their, and a lot of teams have their network.
And that's why Notre Dame hasn't joined a conference, because they make so much money being independent. That's why BYU has remained independent.
And so it feels like this, right? It feels in a similar vein where you've got these conferences that want to play by the rules, and I put that in heavy quotations.
Yeah.
And then you've got these independents that are saying, doesn't benefit me to join a conference, I'm better off on my own. And you've opened up Pandora's box to allow some of that, and then everyone's out for their own blood and looking out for their own interests.
And not to make this too drawn out here, but then you got to look at like the politics of everything too. And Spain historically and over the last century has been very isolated from Europe. They were neutral in the world wars. They were in a civil war where different sides of Europe were supporting different sides of that civil war. And so is Spain going to get along with everybody like Germany will? No, because Germany is very westernized. You wonder why the Eastern European leagues don't do so well. It's because, well, they've been isolated for 70, 80 years.
And they fight with each other every single week, it seems like.
Right. And so, between them and Spain, and like there's a reason why some of these leagues do things so like weirdly, so funky compared to what we're used to in the like true Western leagues. And a lot of it is, these places are politically isolated.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic point. I just wish that, and granted, we're talking about this because of everything that's happened between Chelsea and Barcelona during the transfer period, but no, there's a lot there, and it seems interesting to me. We've heard everything about how Barcelona is in debt, how they have no money, but yet they go out and splash, 150 mil on 3 players. And it's like, how can they buy them? They're in debt. They don't have money. And then you hear, oh, they just found $267 million that
they pulled the lever, Matt.
Yeah. They opened the safe. They basically opened the safe and be like, oh, hey, look what we found. I don't know. I know that there's a lot of politics in world football. I understand that. It kind of is what it is, but the fact that everything was made public, that Barcelona was in debt, and then they randomly came across $260 million. How does nobody ask questions?
let me just, because I don't know, now we're starting to go in a circle a little bit, because
Yeah.
that's a great point, Matt, and I feel like that's probably what we started with. I feel like I heard that.
Yep.
But to like put it in layman's terms from the way it's been explained to me is that, yeah, if you're an American regular citizen, whatever, and you've got your credit cards, you've got your car, you've got your house, you've got all this debt, you can not pay it, like, that's it's fine. You don't have to mail in a check or anything like that. Depending on the amounts, and depending on how antsy the creditor is, they may not come after you, they may come after you, but then that's a whole legal process that, like, you can go a while without paying your debts and still live your life. And then you're still getting paid. You still have your revenue every week, you still got your paycheck and all that, and you can spend that on other stuff. If you got $100,000 in credit card debt, well, now you can go out and buy a car, because you've got all that money that you haven't been putting towards your debt just sitting in a pile over here. That's what Barcelona is doing.
So are there ever going to be repercussions because of that?
Maybe.
As an example, Bordeaux in the French league, they are €40 million in debt, and they have been now relegated to the third French division because of that. Barcelona, though, might be one of those things that was big in the recession, but too big to fail, right?
Yep. And that's where I get into that whole debate. Like, I understand Barcelona is globally known, right? They have a global following. I'm going to chalk it up to 75% of that is Messi. He's gone. And obviously I know, and from what you were saying, Collins, La Liga needs them to survive. So who would be the ones to come down on them? Right?
Yeah.
Who would be their creditor that comes down on them and says, hey, you haven't paid in like 15 years. So what are we going to do about this?
They still owe money on the Malcolm transfer from 2018. Dembele was $100 million transfer that is not fully paid off. What it's going to take is it's going to be basically a class action lawsuit of all these clubs,
or someone big coming in and forgiving debt. They're like forgiving debts or buying a share out, like, from the club.
Well, that's Barcelona's other problem, is that they're not owned by a company. They're not owned by a billionaire. They are owned by the people. And so it's like, where does your money come from? It's like the Packers. So, okay, well, we're going to have another
stockholders meeting
purchase.
But what you can do, though, is you can dilute the ownership. So in the Packers organization, you can say the fans now own 60% of the company, and now 40% is sold to this billionaire. And
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, you can dilute people's ownerships, especially when each individual shareholder, woohoo, we own the club, gets diluted by 40% or whatever it is, right? It's less impactful than when, like, the actual, like, corporation that gets diluted. So that stuff can happen. And if someone came in and put $1 billion into the club, no one's going to say no to that.
The only positive, Matt, that I think we can look positive example. It's not positive for this club, but it's a positive example in this situation that we can look to is Rangers in Scotland. They were in financial crisis, and we all know the Scottish League. It's Celtic and Rangers. Name another club.
Aberdeen.
Shut up. But it's those two, and that's it. And then Rangers went into financial crisis, and they had to be liquidated and formed again as a new club in the third division. in order to survive. And they did. They came out on the other end fine. Like, Steven Gerrard came in and
Yeah.
they did fine. But they had a big hill to climb to get back to being where they were. So it's kind of like that in Spain. It's a 2-horse race consistently, year in and year out. But I don't think La Liga has the power that some of these other leagues have.
Right. And I think that's an issue, is that all these other leagues have that power, and La Liga is, for lack of a better term, they're the wild, wild west, right? It's whatever Barca needs, they get. Whatever Real Madrid needs, they get. Obviously, Real Madrid is not in the same situation, but like, you need those two clubs to thrive. Atletico, they've been building from the ground up for a number of years, and now they're in that upper echelon. But they weren't always that way. You could look at Sevilla, Valencia, again,
Bilbao.
yeah, like clubs that have built up the correct way, as I would say it. But then you have Barca and Real Madrid. You have your two biggest money makers, your two biggest money draws. There's no way you can relegate them or throw them down to whatever the second or third league is. You can't, because they're so globally identified as a powerhouse club that you just can't do it. And to me, that's where I have an issue. Like, if a club does something wrong, they do something wrong, and they need to face the repercussions. We saw what happened with the Super League and with Chelsea and the other clubs that wanted to join. We saw what happened, right? Nothing for them. Just like, you probably shouldn't do this, but there you go. You're fine. It's just one of those things where I really question, again, why I'm questioning the ethics of world football is a whole different issue, but it just doesn't seem like everybody is playing by the right set of rules.
The other, like, Pandora's box I'll just open for a second here is,
Oh, geez.
this will be quick, I promise. When Chelsea was going through their sale, there was only 2 clubs in the Premier League that didn't have any debt on the books. It was Newcastle and Chelsea, and it's because of their ownership. Have debt the same way that most organizations have debt on the books, and it's just a funny difference that exists in global football, where a billionaire like Roman can own the club and just fully bankroll it from his own pocket and not take on any outsider influence. It's just literally just him. He was the judge, the jury, and the executioner. Like, we all laughed about it when it was happening, but Newcastle is the same way with their Saudi ownership as well, and they don't have any outside debt, outside influence. So it'll be interesting to see with Barcelona, if they do have to sell off a piece of the club, or if they have to change ownership structure or something like that to make this work. I think they do that before they liquidate, or they disband, or become financially unviable. But yeah, it's a slippery slope, and the way that they're trending is towards, like, not being able to dig out on their own feet. They have to find something else to, like, artificially inject capital into the club. Otherwise, they will become irrelevant. If they just, like, clear their own debts on their own regard, then they will be irrelevant from a footballing standpoint, and then they will go down on their own regard. So that's not an option either. So it all signs to me like pointing towards, like, outside ownership, or injection of capital, or forgiveness of debt, or something along those lines.
And that's the biggest issue. Like, we were talking last year, Everton might get relegated. They were one of the the big six clubs, right? Tough shit. If you don't play well, you get relegated. The thing is, La Liga can't let Barcelona get relegated, right? If you think about this, if Barcelona didn't make it to the Champions League, if they were, well, I mean, that happened a couple years ago, right? Barca was in Europa. Can you imagine what that did for their TV deals? Can you imagine the hit that took? Now you're saying, okay, you get relegated down to the second league in La Liga, where there are no TV rights, nothing. Guess what? That's when you go to drastic measures. You're like, well, we can't pay you because we're not getting the TV deals, so we have no way to pay our players the ridiculous salaries that we've said that we're going to pay to them, and that we're still trying to catch up on.
Well, and I think that's Barcelona, to bring it full circle here. I think that's Barcelona's strategy in making these signings, even though they can't register players and all that, is that like their thinking is we have to win in order to maintain our current revenues, to continue to bring in money. And if we don't win, if we don't bring in these players to win, then we're even more in a hole. But it's kind of like, that's not the, as a normal everyday person, like, I got to spend more money so I can make money, but really, maybe you should like relax your spending a little bit to dig yourself out of hole. Like,
Ponzi scheme. Like this is Ponzi scheme thinking.
Thank you.
Like,
Yes.
It is further down, push it further down the road, because tomorrow's problem is better than today's problem. Solve tomorrow's problem by fixing today's problem, and then we worry about tomorrow's problem later.
Yes.
Ball down the road.